What?
I just started recording now.
Okay. Uh, I'm so proud to be here and able to be virtually back with some of my old comrades from many, many years ago. I uh, I don't know what motivated me to write my book. I kept a journal in Vietnam when I served with the Mike Force, and even before that. At first, I started making entries every day, but it soon became obvious that many days, especially during the time I was in headquarters, they were all the same, and there wasn't a whole lot to be writing about. So I switched to keeping my journal daily when I was on missions of various kinds. Those of you out there who served in the Mike Force know that we were not just an immediate reaction force. Any kind of shit detail that came around in our particular areas, as you well know, we got sent on it. Anything from convoys to who knows. But anyway, I want to tell you a little bit about my book. Of course, I wrote it from my journal, letters home to my wife and family and friends, and other than that, from memory. And I just want to say that word for word, it's absolutely the truth as I know it. I'm sure that other people may have seen things a little different on the same occasions, but that's understandable. We're all human. But I tried to write it as if I was sitting talking to somebody. And that's pretty much how it's turned out. I've sold several hundred of the books by now. And I've had very, very good positive feedback. One lady at my VFW post called it a romance. I didn't see it that way, but that's how she saw it. Other people have told me they couldn't put it down. Other people have said, well, I stayed up all night finishing it. It's not a real long book. It's 150 pages, including roughly 150 pages, including appendices. There are 4 or 5 appendices. I use a lot of Vietnamese language in there. I pretty much picked up the language while I was there, and I used it a lot. There's an appendix in there that defines and translates the Vietnamese phrases and words that I used. But I didn't exactly write it for myself. I wrote it for my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and for generations, however many. I've often thought that it would be a fascinating experience to have to have been able to read a personal account of my umpteenth great grandpa who served in the Civil War. Of course, that wasn't available, but anyway, that's mainly why I did it. But people asked for it, and I started giving away CD copies of it, text and color and black and white pictures, and people kept bugging me about getting it published. So I had on my own self-published it, had it printed and bound. It covers my entire military experience. And it was also written for the genuine American heroes that I served with in Vietnam, in the Mike Force. My jaw still drops today to think about how this poor kid from the white ghetto, sometimes going to bed hungry, dirt poor, could be counted among those genuine American heroes. And I'm just in awe of them still today. I wrote it for them. And I wanted to get my story out. So there's I'm going to start put some pictures from the book on the screen as I go along here. I can't really afford to say too much about how about the book. I don't want to give things away, but anybody who knew Jerry Poole, this is Jerry Poole on the left here, goofing off of one of his buddies. Jerry Poole was in SOG and over in either Cambodia or Laos. He was extracted and his chopper was shot down. And as far as I know, he's still today no longer, he's still missing in action today. So anyway, how do I get this back? Anyway, he, there we go. Okay. He was a good guy, and I just hate that he's no longer is still missing. Trying to do 2 or 3 things here at once. So I won't give away too much of my book. I'm going to go ahead and share a few other pictures with you. Here's a jump we made when I was in medical training down at Fort Sam Houston, and we jumped a C-119 flying boxcar, and that was kind of good. Got 2 jumps out of those. So that's ancient history, the C-119, I guess. I don't suppose they use them anymore. No, the first American, one of the first Americans to be killed at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu against the French was a guy nicknamed Earthquake Magoon, and he was shot down in one of these planes at Dien Bien Phu. He and his co-pilot were killed. They were flying in supplies. We did a lot of missions out of. There's the entrance to the the Da Nang Mike Force. Standing at the C team. The only way you could get into the Mike Force compound was to go through the C team compound. And this picture is taken from the C team grounds of the gate to the Mobile Strike Force B-16 compound. In the distance on the right, you can see Marble Mountain. We were that close. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that. There's Lieutenant Bernstein. He was with me on the evacuation of Camduck. There's only 2 living human beings alive today that I know of who were both in on the evacuation of Noctavoc and Camduck, and that would be Lieutenant Eugene Mikowski, or he was a lieutenant, or he's a captain at the time. But Eugene Mikowski, as far as I know, he's still around. I saw him a couple of years ago at one of the conventions, and he and I were, as I say, are the only 2 living human beings who were in on both evacuations, from Noctavoc and from Camduck. As Lieutenant Gutierrez, he was out on a alert mission. We were looking for the NVA division that attacked. We had been on. Different teams of us had gone out with the Marine LRPs to look for the NVA that attacked Noctavoc and Camduck. And during the siege and evacuation of Camduck, Lieutenant Gutierrez was hiding out with his team somewhere in the jungle for several days, and they didn't have any food or supplies, went hungry for a couple of days maybe. Anyway, he was out there. Anyway, I had 22 missions of different kinds during the year I was there, and it was really exciting to me. Here's myself when I was kind of hanging out with the Vietnamese, or the Montagnards, the Ray Montagnards in the village near, I think it was Ha Tan. I think this was at Ha Tan. So I'll just go through a couple of pictures here, give a little, there's Thong Duck, A109. I hope that's correct, A109. And it says A101, but I don't think that's right. I think it was A109.
No, that's correct.
Okay, so anyway, that's the village of Thong Duck from just to the west and uphill a ways from it. In the background is a place we called Charlie Ridge. Well, the Marines had a different Charlie Ridge, but that was a huge plateau up on top of that mountain range in the background there across the Song Vujia, the Vujia River, at which the village of Thong Duck was on the banks of that river, along with another tributary. There's Jerry Alley. Jerry Alley went on to become Sergeant Major of the Army, if I understand things well. He was a heck of a soldier. He was an E6 when I served with him. He, on one of our missions, he come running up. We were in a firefight, and he come running up saying, "Hey, we're surrounded. I just saw him come in behind us." These are some of the heroes I served with. Irvin Bryan, I'm sure some of you might know him. He was E7, I believe it was at the time. One of the most cool, calm, and collected guys I ever saw in my life under fire. He saw him knock out a NVA machine gun position one time, and he turned around and gave us a big grin. I mean, he just walked up there casually and knocked him out like it was just, another day. But anyway, those are some of the things, and it was a real adventure. Let me show a few more pictures, and that's about all I got. Okay, now this guy, Joe Cawley, I believed he served in the mobile guerrilla force, like in '67 or '66, with Bo Greitz, and got a field commission. He was a Maverick. There he is as captain. First lieutenant, sorry about that. There's Vic Kidwell. I'm sure most of you know him. Funny little story about Vic Kidwell. We were in Portland, Oregon for our convention 3 or 4 years ago, and I got into a limo at the airport to go to be carried to the motel where we were having our convention. And I was sitting in the front seat, and we were all talking. And I says, "Well, there's this one guy I really, really have been waiting to see all these years." And I mentioned his name, and he said, he was sitting right behind me. He said, "Well, here I am." and I said, "Well, when we get out of this limo, I'm going to give you a hug." And the driver said, "This ain't that kind of limo." But anyway, that was really neat to see him again. He was my hero. I looked up to him so much. And so Sergeant Major Billy Lewis, he was the Sergeant Major of the Mark Force at the time. Lieutenant McDill, maybe some of you knew him. Operation at Bateau, we were crossing the river there. Okay, enough of that. But I think it's an exciting story. Some of it's a little boring, but anyway, Let me see if I can get out of this. Well, I guess I can't. But anyway, the book is self-published. It's $25 plus $5 shipping. You gotta get a hold of me if you want to buy a copy. Here we go. Send me an email at JMATheney at AOL.com. You can communicate with me that way. I'll send you the book and you can send a check, or you can send a check and I'll send the book. But it's $25 plus $5 shipping and handling. That's the cheapest I could do. So I'm done.
Any questions? It's interesting that our next presenter was one of the people who evacuated only from one of the places you were evacuated from. And he's written a book solely about Camden. I'm going to stop the sharing now, and we will go to a slight break.